Blessed afternoon, my beautiful collective. Oh, how's it going? How you feeling? There's a lot happening in the collective right now. If you're experiencing the anxiety, if you're experiencing the discomfort, just know all is well. Nothing is wrong. Invite it into your experience of the present moment. It's not really the emotion that you think is uncomfortable that's uncomfortable. It's not. It's the resistance to it. Show that to yourself. Demonstrate that to yourself. Take this moment right now. Let's do it together. Take a deep breath, a conscious breath. You are breathing now. Now is the only time you can be breathing. Now is the only time you can be. You are now, in this moment, with me, regardless of this being a recording. That's irrelevant. We are together experiencing now. There is no time and energy. Our energy in this moment, the only moment, which is now, is united. We are sharing presence, that which we are, with one another as one another. That's a powerful thing to bring awareness to, yes. So, what else is here? If there is a thought, accept that there is a thought. Simply become aware of it. It's allowed to be there. If there is a sensation, here or here, perhaps even behind the eyes, anywhere that you feel it, bring your awareness to it. I am feeling movement down the arms, like so. I am feeling sensation here. Recognize if you characterize it. Do you call it pain? Do you call it bad? Do you call it discomfort? Acknowledge that. Recognize that there has been a mental process of adding characterization to the sensation. And then return to the sensation. It's pure. It just is. Invite it to be as it is. Now that you have become aware of the tendency to add definition to it, see if you can just observe it without calling it anything, just feeling into it. If there's a thought that comes, if there is judgment, if there is resistance, move your awareness there. Just awareness, just space, just looking, just being. That's it. Return to the feeling in fullness. Be with it, invite it to be, accept that it is now. It is. It cannot be any other way. Why would we resist it? That seems futile. It seems like something that would add to suffering, create suffering, and we are not here to suffer. We are not here to add to or perpetuate suffering. We are here to create no suffering. And we do that by awareness and open invitation of the present moment, exactly as it is, everything that it contains. It is what is. To fight against it seems insane. I, for one, am devoted to the creation of no more suffering in myself. No more for myself, no more for any. Of course, it has to be done through myself. But I am done. I am done with suffering. I am done with perpetuating the story of an unhappy self. I am done with identification with pain. When we are identified with the pain, we perpetuate it unconsciously because there is this unconscious drive to keep the identity intact. Bring awareness to that. recognize there is a thing in you that is desiring unhappiness because it has made an identity from it. It has derived a sense of self from it. And so, in your bringing awareness to it, you can make the conscious decision that that is not me. I am not that unhappy self. That is a story. That is a concept. It is an idea. It is a theory. It is not real. And I choose from this aware state to no longer flow my energy into that. If it happens, it happens. But I will notice. I will feel it. I will bring my consciousness to it. And in my awareness of it, I withdraw energy from it. Now I am aware. Now I am not it. I am that which is the awareness of it. Even more powerfully, I am the awareness of the awareness. I am the awareness that I am awareness. There is no pain but in resistance. Even contrast, even physical pain is not as painful as we might think. It is just the characterization of it as pain and all of the concept and definition that comes along with that, which creates the sensation. It's just the balling up in resistance against the present moment and the experience of it that creates discomfort. The minute that resistance is released, the minute you invite what is to be and place your awareness fully on it, it's not painful anymore. You have released the concept of pain. It was painful in theory, and because you were living through the theory, through the mind, that was your experience. When you release the concept, when you release the construct, when you cease the identification with the mind, and you invite being to the forefront, and you be with the sensation, and you allow the sensation to be as it bees, whether it is physical or emotional, which has a very physical component to it, does it not? The minute you do that, the pain is gone. It's a sensation, yes. You might still characterize it by more vague description, such as pressure or tingling, but it is not pain. This is demonstrable. It is why conscious breathing works to alleviate pain. It takes that which has been experienced as intolerable and excruciating and renders it manageable. A sensation, yes, but not serious, not a threat, not something that matters so much, because you are engaging being, you are engaging presence, you are leaving the mind aside, and it is the mind which calls the pain a problem. It's only the characterization of this sensation as problem, which leads to resist it, which leads to our discomfort, which adds to the narrative of the unhappiness. When we leave the mind out of it, when we engage fully with being in the present moment, all of the perceived pain and suffering falls away. It is just illusion. All suffering is illusion. And we have the power to feel through it, to perceive past it by regaining awareness, by bringing our awareness to the present, to the now, and by inviting all that is to be and being present with it. In this way, you cannot experience suffering. Suffering does not exist in the now. And in this way, you create no more suffering. And so by living in the now, you live free of suffering. And you assist in bringing about the end of suffering, the end of the experience of the illusion of suffering for all consciousness. I do intend to pull a reading. This was my intent when I sat down. But that wanted to come out first. and I am delighted that it did. Welcome. There is much happening in the collective psyche, the collective pain body, the collective egregore of trapped pain, whatever it is one wishes to characterize it as. It's a lot of emotion that has not been witnessed. It just hasn't been looked at. It hasn't been observed. It's been distracted from. It's been looked away from. It's been shoved down. It's been repressed. And that's what keeps it stuck. And that's what continues the suffering. That's what creates the pain. Not the experience of the emotion, the resistance to it. Not any experience, even if it is a physical, tangible one. The resistance to it is where the suffering lies. End the resistance, and you end the suffering. Invite what is to be. You invite yourself to be fully. And then you are present and being as yourself, and you feel no suffering. You feel the peace, the stability, the wellness. You feel sensation. Whatever is there is still there, but without the added false characterization, the heavy burden, the density of the mind-created layer of pain, of problem, which has resistance within it. Without that resistant layer, there's no friction. There's no discomfort. What is simply is, and is all well, regardless of what it is. Let's pull cards. Much of this inspired by interactions with others today. Yes, the presence has persisted. It has wavered. I am very aware that pain body, shadow, is active. It is trying to feed. It is trying to generate sensation and convince one that it is real, to trick one into unconsciousness so it can perpetuate itself. But I am privy to it, and I am determined, and I am aware that all it takes is awareness, and I have that in spades. That only increases, that only grows. Now the attempt of pain body and ego to feed itself becomes a practice of fueling presence. I simply bring awareness to it. Something else interesting that happened. I have not used this deck for a few days. I don't really recall the readings. I don't really track time because it is an illusion. But at some point, a card fell out. It's already been on the camera. This is not the bottom card. This is an additional card. This is extra energy. When I got into the car this morning, I noticed on the floor of the passenger side, the Ace of Cups was laying there. It was face down, actually, so it had to reveal itself to me. And it's flowing. It is spilling over, spilling out, spilling upon everything. Just let it. Just let it. It's only the resistance to it that creates the tension and discomfort. Just let it flow. This is my encouragement, not just to the viewer, but all energy. I am sending this out with my heart and soul. Let it be. Let it flow. It is no threat to you. It just wants to express. It is just energy. And it is just what is. Might as well accept that it is. Let it be there and see what it has to say. Doesn't mean anything. It just is and wants to be. Underneath that, the start of the pre-shuffle It's this Ace of Pentacles. Oh, already the cards are slipping around. The top card, which just wanted to show itself, is the Six of Swords. It's time to release this. It's time for this to resolve. Resolution. It's time to move on to calmer waters. And we take this journey on purpose. We don't just end up in the calmer waters by accident. It's a deliberate journey. It is a journey of allowance, a journey of flow. It's the journey that in the traditional tarot is taken by the canoe, right? A boat without an engine, without much steering. But we are the ones to shove off, if you will, to leave the shore. And then the rest is left to fate. It is let to be as it is. It's just the leaving. That's all we have to do, is leave behind the resistance. Leave behind the tension, that which has been held back, held up for so long. That's the liberation. It's time to let it go. It's time to let be. Your freedom is found in the release of resistance. Truly. Your peace, your bliss, all of it is found in this. The bringing of awareness to what is, the awareness that you are the awareness. Pure awareness has surrender encapsulated within it. Awareness by its nature is non-resistant. It is non-judgmental. It is non-reactive. It is just aware. That is you. You cannot think yourself into that place, but you feel yourself there. When you feel yourself observing, that's it. You felt it. Just keep feeling it. And if you lose it, that's okay. Recognize the sensation that arises. Recognize the awareness of having lost it. You haven't lost it. You have awareness of it. The moment that you are aware of not being present, you become present. Bring your awareness to that. Acknowledge that. It's time for liberation. It is time for this to break loose. This has been clogging up the pipeline. And no, we don't have to unclog the pipes. We just lay new pipes. But this one's breaking loose. This one is exploding out. Look at the beautiful color match there. It's time to let go. To let the walls down, to let the guard down, to stop the resistance, to stop the hiding, to stop the balling up in tension against, and just let what is be. Let yourself be. I like that transition as well. Into the green and blue. From the lower levels of chakra to the higher levels. Two of Wands. Letting go. Can I emphasize this anymore? Letting go of the past, letting go of the story, letting go of the narrative, letting go of the worry, the fear, letting go of the future, letting go of everything that is outside of now. Now is all there is. When we are living in the future or the past, we are living in a mentally constructed space, a concept, not reality. Theory, idea, not actual. And there is no power there. There is no self there. The self is now. Life is now. There is no life outside of now. That's why when you leave the now, by traveling in your mind into past or future, you feel separate. You feel separate from yourself. You feel smaller. You feel like that boat afloat on a vast and tameless ocean. Bring your awareness to the truth that you are not that boat. You are that which is observing the boat, that which is perceiving the boat. You are something much bigger, much more steady and true and expansive. The moon. Trust in what you cannot see. You do not need to see it to know it. This is not a journey you take with the mind or the physical senses. It is one that you feel. Feel your way through. If you are in the dark, you cannot see, and the mind will panic, and it will tell you, don't move, stay still, because you don't know what's out there. And then what? Nothing happens. You are stuck, you are stagnant, you are small. Trust. Trust in that which is within you, that which you cannot see, that which you cannot perceive with the mind. Trust in the process. Trust that you don't need to know. You don't need to understand. The mind thinks it knows. It thinks it knows what knowing is. It doesn't. It just thinks, right? The true knowing is felt. You don't need to know the way you think you need to know. As in, your mind does not need to comprehend it. All that is necessary is for you to feel. That is knowing. Your feeling can be trusted. Your sensing can be trusted. Invite everything that is to come up. And yes, there is a significant part of this that is related to the soulmate cycle, which wasn't going to be specifically addressed, but these cards just showed themselves. The Emperor and the Five of Cups. Yes, that energy is here too. It's all connected. There is a tremendous amount of turmoil due to unexpressed emotion, unexpressed truths, unexpressed desire, doubting of the dream, failure to pursue the dream. Yeah, all of that. And it's creating massive tension, which is designed to propel us into saying, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. That's how I reached this point of, I'm done with suffering. The mind would continue saying, no, but there is more, you must think, you must not be ready, you must not, fuck it. The mind doesn't know. I know. I am ready to release suffering. I am ready to practice and engage in presence permanently. I am ready to embrace this shift and make it a part of my continuous state of being. I'm ready. Fuck what the mind says. I'm not identifying with the mind anymore. I'm doing it anyway. I'm flowing it anyway. Oh, the mind is a fabulous tool, but it is not a thing to be trusted. It is not a thing to listen to. Listen to yourself. Yourself is not your mind. We've talked enough on this, though. Let's pull a reading. What am I pulling on? I suppose it is the soulmate cycle that has arisen here. Oh, and that, yeah. I'm going to keep shuffling, but that is a part of it. Oh, the discontent. Oh, so stubborn. The mind becomes so attached to the suffering. It makes an identity from it. And so the very overcoming of the suffering becomes a threat. It's something that we are afraid of. We make a home in the anxiety, in the discomfort, in the resistance. And so the release of resistance feels like a loss of self, but it is only a loss of the false self, the small self, the mind-made egoic self. In the allowance of that self to be lost, you discover your true self. In dissociating from the small self, that which is not you, but which would tell you dissociation is dangerous, because of course that is the perceived loss of its identity, the loss of itself, which it is afraid of and doesn't want you to do. It wants to continue that cycle. It wants you to keep feeding it. The dissociation from the small self is the recognition of the full self, the true self. Card just fell out. This is just why we're here. The card that fell out is the Watcher, is what I'm compelled to call this. This came up yesterday too. It is that introspective energy. On another side, it's a lot of spying. Yeah, which is why things feel extra intense right now. The energies are very close together. They are commingling. Judgment and the devil again. Yeah. It's becoming too much. There is obsession to this. Absolute obsession. More spying and more inability to deny this. There's an awareness. There's layers. There's an awareness of, if I can't stop thinking about this, I can't pretend that it doesn't matter. I can't pretend that I can't stop thinking about this anymore. It's still here. It's still here all of this time, and I'm still thinking about it. That applies in a lot of ways. But recognize, why is it? What is driving this thinking? Is it a perpetuation of some identity? Is there a deeper emotion that we have denied expression here? Is there a truth that we have denied? And that's why this continuously comes back. Something has been repressed. Something has been left unacknowledged. Something hasn't been looked at. That wants to be witnessed. Just that. It just wants witness. That's it. Yeah. Queen of Swords. And there's that Ace of Cups again. Just letting it loose. Bringing it into view in full visibility. Letting it be. And if there is action to be taken, taking that action, speaking that truth. But foremost, speaking it to yourself, honoring it within yourself. That is the most important component. And you can't get there unless you let it be. You have to acknowledge it. You have to accept that it is. It is what is. Let it be what is. There's the Chariot, card of the soulmate cycle. What wants to come out? Yeah, 9 of Wands. Breaking through, breaking loose, breaking past, moving past this, moving on, moving forward with determination. No more suffering. No more delusion. Belief. Faith. More breaking loose. 9 to 10. I mean, we have 2 10s here. 9s are the end, 10s are new cycle. The end of dilly-dallying, the end of dreaming, the end of holding back, the beginning of moving forward confident and determined in the self, aware of our worth, aware of our stability, aware of our ability to balance ourself, to satisfy ourself, aware that there is satisfaction to be found in every moment, that there is never anything to be afraid of, that even the feeling of fear is something that we can invite in and use to fuel presence and awareness and feel good. We can derive good feeling from the feeling of fear. How magical is that? How powerful are you that in your perspective you can turn an experience like fear into a benefit to you, into an experience of satisfaction, pleasure, appreciation. Thank you, fear. Thank you for your presence here. I invite you in. I bring my awareness to you. I am becoming bigger. I am becoming more unconditional and accepting. My presence is increasing. My pleasure, my satisfaction, my stability is increasing because of you, fear. Thank you. It's determination. It's forward motion. It's breaking the fuck free. It is time to be you, uninhibited. You evolved. You, not 2.0. New you. Pure you. Not another version of a past you. The new version. The true version. Shake off the shell of the small self. The former. The future. Let all of that be cast aside. Be unknown. Be undefined. That is you. You are that which cannot be captured or contained in any description. Embrace that as the self. Oh, let's pull a reading. We're pulling on the soulmate cycle. Under the current influence of all energies. I don't even know what's going on with the aspects right now. Probably something. I haven't looked. The High Priestess. Oh, it's mysterious. It's intuition. Let it arise. Let the feeling arise. It's arising for everyone. Some people, it's very uncomfortable for this to happen because they don't understand it, because the mind cannot comprehend it. It doesn't need to. The mind doesn't know. The High Priestess knows by feeling. She knows by sense, intuition, intimation. What's underneath that? They both wanted to come out at the same time, which is important because this is changing. This short-sightedness, this small vision, small view, this is shifting. It's diminishing. It's expanding, actually. The perspective is expanding, and thus the short-sightedness is getting smaller. When we zoom out the perspective, that which we had focused on and perceived as flaw is realized to be no flaw, to be no threat, to be perfect exactly as it is. No obstacle, no boundary, all is well. Taking the long view. I'm reminded of a comment someone left once. I don't know who it was, but if you're here, you will know. And see if I can recall it correctly. They said they had awoken from a dream, which is always a powerful receptive state, which you receive when you are first waking up, when you are just regaining consciousness, is often powerful. And you can ask questions before you go to sleep. And then listen in those moments. You will receive answers. They might not make sense right away, but they will become clear, I assure you. Someone had said, to know your true worth would be to sell yourself short, something like that. To know all of your worth would be selling yourself short. Because your worth is unlimited. You can know it. You can know it intimately. You can know it by experience. But to know it in the way that the mind, again, thinks it knows, which is limited, boxed, conceptual, for the mind to know your worth would be to sell yourself short, because the mind cannot possibly conceive of your value, of your worth. Your soul knows it. It knows it in the way that is beyond comprehension. It knows it intimately. The Magician, more transformation. Look at that. The release of karma. Also, just showing up out of nowhere, particularly with this wheel here. It is a powerful transformation of perspective for all. For all. For some, it's very confusing. Something about never having made a choice here, too. And the world, my God. I mean, the world and the Wheel of Fortune. It is a new period of heightened intuition, of heightened awareness of self, which is different from self-awareness in the small version. Self-consciousness, ego is self-conscious and insecure. When you have awareness, the pure awareness of self, that is revealed to be illusion. There is no more self-awareness at the egoic level because you are no longer identified as ego. You are no longer identified as the mind aware of itself. You are the awareness of the mind. You are not separate but removed from. You are that which is containing. It is a powerful cycle shift. And I can feel energy in this area. If the sensation is overwhelming, let it be. Again, invite it in. Let it overwhelm. The only self it is overwhelming is the small self, I assure you. The loss of that self by giving it in to overwhelming sensation is the expansion of and into the true self, the broader self. You realize this thing which you had perceived as so overwhelming, so incomprehensible, so intolerable, by your allowing it to be, by your letting it sweep over you, you realize you are still there. You have not gone anywhere. You have not ceased to be. You have not disappeared in a puff of smoke. You still are. This thing which you had perceived as so impossible to contain is happening. And you are fine. And in that moment, you realize there is no threat to you. Even in all of this perceived suffering, angst, resistance, you are still big enough to contain it. The earth hasn't shattered. The sun hasn't fallen out of the sky. Your heart is still beating. Blood is still pumping through your body. You are doing nothing about any of those things. All is still well. You are well. And you are, in fact, mightier than you gave yourself credit for. There is that decision that it's time to make, just pulling a little further. The decision to move towards happiness, Eight of Cups, King of Cups, and express, to share those emotions. I had forgotten where I even was in this. We are pulling the reading now. That's all the base energy. It's quite a bit. What's in the connection position? Temperance, balance, making sense. It's sense that is made, not mentally, but not even emotionally. It's beyond emotion. It's feeling. Emotion is one thing. Feeling is another. It is just that it feels right. Yes, that's not an emotion. That is a feeling. That is a sensation. It feels right. There is a push to this. There's a draw to this. There's a pull. The mind can't comprehend it. And the more we try to comprehend it with the mind, the more resistance we get balled up in, the more uncomfortable it feels. Don't try to understand it. Just feel it. Does it feel right? Let it be. Flow with it. Even if something feels wrong, trust that intuition, trust that sensation. And if there is an action that you can take, if you feel something is wrong, that's different from the feeling of fear or tension or worry. It's actually removed from those things. If you are not feeling the worry, but you feel something is off and you have an impulse to do something about that, follow that impulse, follow that intuition. If it doesn't feel right, then do what feels right. But be aware of the feeling. Be very alert. Is there worry? Is there fear underneath there? Or is it a pure just, this doesn't feel right, but that feels right. So let me follow that right feeling. Just be aware what is driving. If there is fear there, feel around the fear. Simply that. What's in the 3D? Page of Wands. A new start. A new you. A new beginning, certainly, is desired here, and it seems to make sense. We'll see how the energy flows from the soul, but this is wanting to work. Wanting to work on it, wanting to make it work. An invitation to be curious, to go see. Well, I don't understand it with the mind, but I feel this strong draw to it. Go see. See what it's about. See what's over there. See what this impulse is guiding you to. What's in the soul? Oh, yeah. 5 cups in the soul. It's a very sad horse. The remorse horse, I think it was called recently. Something like that in Steve's Love Tarot. It was a remorseful horse, so now it is remorse horse to me. Yeah, not following the impulse doesn't feel good. There's a recognition here of we have to do this to feel good. It's not about the outcome. It's not about the result. It's not about what's over there. It's about following the pull. If we don't follow the feeling, it doesn't feel good. If we don't trust the intuition, it doesn't feel good. If we're resistant to change, if we're resistant to what is, it doesn't feel good. If we are resisting the arising of something within us, and there is curiosity, there is a desire here to move towards something. If we are resisting that, we are denying that expression, it doesn't feel good. There's also tired of suffering in this. Done with the suffering, done with trying to make sense of things, done with trying to do things by the book, by the letter, the way that we are supposed to, by someone else's definition, by some arbitrary definition, by society's standards, a society which is quite mad and ego-driven. Of course, following the soul doesn't make sense to an ego-created society. Of course, it would be called crazy by a society that is dominated by ego, dominated by those listening to a voice in their head. How wild is that? We live in a world where it's considered normal to hear a voice in your head and think that's you. But then who's hearing the voice? If the voice is you, then who is listening? There are 2 yous, the voice and the hearer. One of them is real. The other one is not. The other one is a concept, is an idea. You are hearing. The voice you're hearing isn't real. It's not you. And yet we live in a society where it's normal to just listen to that voice and follow it, follow its instructions. Anywhere else that you expressed that, I hear a voice and I listen to what it tells me. What would the doctor say? Truly, society has been operating in a state of insanity. Really, truly. It is time to become sane again. And we become sane by recognizing, by realizing the insanity we have been operating under, the dysfunction of the mind when we are identified with it, when we think the voice is us. The voice is not us. The mind is not us. We are that which is observing, that which is perceiving, that which is hearing. Cease the mind identification, begin following the soul, following the feeling. The mind becomes clearer. It becomes quieter. The voice pipes down. It still talks. Sure, it does. But you realize it's not you and you don't have to follow it. What's in the hidden energy position? Oh. More temporary pain, but also more energy that drives a change here. You only reach the point where you have committed to, devoted yourself to presence, to doing something different, to no longer following the mind, the ego, the shadow, which communicates with fear. which keeps you stuck, keeps you in cycles. You only reach the point of making the decision, I'm not going to do this anymore, because you've suffered enough. You've had enough. That is being realized. Ego is becoming aware of its own bullshit, that it is fighting against itself, that it is perpetuating unhappiness. And it's time for that to end. It's starting to make sense. We're starting to see the bigger picture of how we have continued on these cycles, these patterns, because of unconsciousness, because of listening to the voice of fear, the voice of worry, of doubt, of anxiety, of guilt, of disappointment, the voice that says, but what will they think? But what might happen? But I've never been this or done this before. But this happened in the past and it could happen again. We're realizing that voice, that pattern is keeping us stuck. It's keeping us from growing, from moving forward, from moving towards that which we feel called towards, that which feels good to us. It's keeping us from expanding. It's keeping us from living life. And it's time to come out of that. There is an awakening happening collectively. We are awakening to the patterns, to the cycles, to the bullshit. The awakening is happening so that we can put an end to them. We can put an end to the karmic cycle, put an end to the unconscious patterns and programming. We have to be aware of them in order for that to happen. Spontaneous awakening is occurring. Awareness is increasing because we are bringing more of it into the world. The more presence that is brought deliberately through an individual vessel, the more of that is available. The more it shifts the collective tide. That's what's happening here. And the more that shifts, the broader the effect. It's exponential in its expansion. It is a positive feedback loop. It amplifies itself. We have triggered this mechanism. It's been happening for some time. And it's been a long, slow journey. I mean, an arduous one. Imagine being among the first beings to become truly conscious in an unconscious world, knowing people are not going to get this. It's going to take some time for even one or two. Buddha and all of his disciples, the famous silent sermon that he gave, there was one disciple who received the message, who started laughing and smiling and went on to become a teacher of Zen. It's been a long, slow journey here, but enough consciousness has expanded that we've tipped the scale. We've hit 51st percentile, and now it's just exploding. It's bursting all over the place. The awareness is expanding, is increasing tremendously. It's observable. It is something that I can witness, and even the people that I have known. Things are changing within them. Things are changing in the world. We are ascending to higher dimensionality. The mind cannot come with us there, so of course it is struggling. Of course it is straining against this. It is confused. It is scared. It doesn't understand. The soul understands. The soul is ready. What's in the final outcome position? Two of Swords. Interesting. A crossroads. Could go either way. Could go either way. What do you want me to say? It's what it is. Not everyone is prepared for this decision. Not everyone will be making the same decision. Things always come around. Things come in cycles. Obviously. We'll clarify. Certainly. There is truth known here one way or another. Things are moving forward. This block cannot be sustained. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what this says. I don't know what else to say about it, but the Wheel of Fortune is at the bottom here. Things are changing. the times they are a change in. This is the second wheel in surface level energy, but I mean, it wasn't that far. 3 cards in, sandwich, making some tasty toast with the High Priestess there. Yeah, the Wheel of Fortune. What's underneath that? The moon. It's all coming up. It's all coming out. Eight of Wands. Yep. There's that 5 of Cups again. And the 8 of Swords, which I almost called the 8 of Wands. Seeing that the thinking is getting us nowhere. Thinking is getting us nowhere. You cannot think your way through life. You can't think your way through a problem. You just create more problem. You only see more problem. You can't certainly think your way through emotions. The mind is not designed to do that. It doesn't understand that. It doesn't understand emotion. It doesn't understand feeling, which I am going to begin differentiating between a little bit, because feeling is a deeper sort of perception. But you do feel emotions. It's time to let go of the fear. It's time to see what's been driving us, and that it has been predominantly unconscious. It has been overthinking that's been driving us. The mind. And that has only created confusion and disappointment, as it does. It's a bottomless pit. There is no truth in the mind. There is no actuality in the mind. The realm of mind is all concept. It is all theory. It's all flat. It's not real. Let's talk about temperance. Why is temperance here? It's an infusion of angelic energy, which is assisting with this awakening, with things making intuitive sense again. It's that which is beyond the mind. It surpasses the mind. It transcends it. Why is temperance here? Oh. The 8 of Pentacles jumped out, and it landed reversed. It's no more distraction. It's no more distraction. It's no more effort put in towards, I don't want to call it the wrong direction. Wrong is not quite the right word, but going about it perhaps the wrong way, the hard way. I think this was mentioned yesterday. Trying to think our way through, trying to think around, trying to avoid, to ignore, to distract ourselves from this. There's no more of it. There at the bottom is the Emperor. I hadn't looked yet. Yeah. It's starting to make sense to go for it. It's starting to make sense to let go of control. We don't really understand why. You're not supposed to understand with the brain, but it feels right. It feels right, and when you follow the feeling, the perspective expands to the point actually that the mind is sort of able to comprehend it. It goes, oh, okay, I didn't see the bigger picture. Well, yeah, it couldn't see the bigger picture. Only consciousness perceives the bigger picture. Once your consciousness has expanded, sometimes the mind still fights it. A lot of times the mind still fights it, I'll be honest. But consciousness gets it. Where the mind perceives error, consciousness perceives perfection. Where the mind perceives chaos, consciousness perceives higher order, organic order, natural order. That all is as all should be. We can't look away. We cannot avoid this. We can't control this. We can't shut this down. It's not possible. It is higher power coming in. What's right with this 8 of Pentacles? Yeah, what can't we shut down? What can't we look away from? What is suddenly making sense? All of the emotion. All of the emotion and intuition, most intuitive of the queens. That Ace of Cups is flowing and we can't shut it down. It's just the feeling is there. We can't look away from it. We can't ignore it or avoid it. And we can't pretend that something doesn't feel right. Something just feels right, and other things just feel wrong. We can't avoid that either. It's time to follow the feeling, to trust the feeling, to trust the intuition, which is what that is. It's just getting stronger. It's building up more and more. And the more that we ignore it, the worse we feel. The more disappointed we are. The ickier that other feeling gets. This just feels bad. I don't know why, but it doesn't feel good. That just feels good. I don't know why, but it feels good. I've been trying to ignore it because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of following this feeling. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit in. It would mean I had to give up something. I have to give in to this. But it just makes sense. And what's the card that just showed itself on the top? Page of Pentacles. Lesson being learned. It's very nervous. It's a very nervous to trust this, afraid to trust this kind of energy. But again, the feeling of it making sense is too strong. It is just too strong. We can't ignore it. We can't avoid it. There is a pull here that even though we're nervous about it, even though we don't get it, even though we feel fear, we want to do it anyway. And not doing it sucks. Not doing it feels terrible, and we don't want to feel terrible anymore. So we got one option. If we don't want to feel terrible, and we don't, we got to trust it. We got to go with it. We got to just let it happen. That is where the freedom is, my friends. That is the liberation. That is where the good feeling is found. No longer resisting what is, no longer resisting the emotion, and no longer resisting the feeling, the flow of it. Why is the Page of Wands here? I almost called it a Page of Swords. It's time to do this a new way. Time to be curious. Time to be experimental. I almost couldn't let go of that. It was the Ace of Cups I just saw at the top. Time to go with the flow. Time to flow with the go. Rather, 2 cards fell out. And it came right back. Time to go with the flow and flow with the go. Yeah, it's time to feel this, to trust this feeling, to see where it leads us. To see where it leads us. The Hermit and Temperance again. Already there's a feedback loop here. Why are we craving this new adventure? Because it just feels right. Because the emotions are flowing. Why is it all flowing? What's pulling us towards this? The soul. The introspection, the realization, the looking at the self and seeing how this isn't working. I'm not happy with this. And it's not even it's a deeper discontent. There's unhappy, there's the perpetuation of the unhappy self. That's a level of this too. But there's this deeper level too. That's, I'm not satisfied with my following that narrative. I'm not satisfied with being stuck in that rut. I'm not satisfied with being afraid to go out there and have an adventure and explore and follow the feelings. And it's making sense all of a sudden why I'm so dissatisfied. I haven't been true to myself. I've been following this illusion. I've been seeking validation outside of me. I've been seeking fulfillment through external and temporal things. I've built an identity on temporal things, and none of that feels good. And even all of the stuff that I've surrounded myself with that would seem to be successful, the material wealth, whatever it is, I'm not satisfied with it. It's not feeling good to me. There's something else that's drawing me. This doesn't feel right. That feels right. It doesn't make sense, but it feels right. And I'm recognizing I'm not going to be satisfied with anything else. It's more about following the feeling. That's where the satisfaction is. It's not about the stuff. It's not about the outcome. It's not about the results produced. It's about following myself, wherever myself is leading me, by feeling. And if I'm not doing that, I'm not feeling good. I'm suffering. And the only way to release myself from that is to follow the feeling. And then I realize that's where the satisfaction is. It doesn't matter where it's leading me. It doesn't matter where I end up. It's about following it. As long as I'm following the feeling, I am feeling good. I'm satisfied. I don't need anything. The conditions don't matter. But I have to follow it. And suddenly it's just making sense. It's just making sense. That's the way we go, because of the increase in awareness, because everyone is awakening to this. That's powerful. So tell me about this 5 of Cups in the soul. Oh, remorse horse in the soul. Yeah. Been rode hard and put up wet, and we're done. We're done with that. No more. We're seeing how the mind, how the ego has led us astray, has led us to unhappiness and really things we don't want, things that don't feel good. Oh, okay, the cards are exploding. Hang on, I can't put them down. So there's a couple things here. Justice and also the Hierophant are base energies in this. Yeah. I mean, holy moly, divine judgment call, soul waking up, soul calling an audible, soul saying, this ain't it. It's time for this to stop. This is not where the satisfaction is found. This is not where the balance is found. This way of being that we've practiced for a long time, this diminished self, diminished perspective of self, self-limiting behavior and belief, this mind-identified egoic self that has lived in a box very carefully, walking on eggshells, not wanting to break anything, so afraid of the adventure, so afraid of living, of getting out there, of mixing it up, so afraid of following the passion, the desire, the feeling. And where's it gotten us? Right here. Right here. It's time for that to stop. And on top, all right, one at a time. It's just an overwhelming sensation. Absolutely overwhelming. It's just pick a direction, trust it, and go for it. And everything is in layers. I'm trying to interpret as many layers of this as I can. The predominant one is overwhelming. The soul is overwhelming the rest, and that's a part of this in a big way. It's bringing the awareness, the heightened awareness, the sense of true self, intuition rising, feeling rising, emotion rising, and taking over the mind, losing ourselves to the emotion. It's too much. And when that happens, the mind is temporarily overwhelmed. It's shut down. And the soul is much, much louder at that point. You have the realization, I am not this self that was so afraid of this. I am not this self that is being overwhelmed. That's not me. I am containing that. I'm something else. In another layer, we got to make a decision. There's a realization of the stagnancy, the lack of decision, the lack of trying, the lack of finding out. Not happy with that. Why? Because the Empress. Because feminine energy, soul energy, is rising. And because we have seen something that we feel compelled towards, that just feels right. You look at the Empress, and it's not that she's conventionally anything. Her throne is outside. She doesn't have a castle. She's not surrounded by riches. She doesn't have all these people bowing down to serve her. She's not in a suit of armor, not surrounded by stuff like the Emperor is. I mean, she's just chilling outside in a green dress. But you want that. You see it and you feel drawn to it. It's just this, I want to look at this card. It's the feeling I have is just, I can't explain it, but I want it. It just feels right. It feels good. That's driving all of this. We can't look away. It is bookending. It is read with the Queen of Cups, and it's also bookending this reversed Eight of Pentacles. The emotion, the feeling, the pull towards this, we cannot deny anymore. And denying it is driving us crazy and perpetuating the suffering. If we want to stop the suffering, we got to stop denying the feeling. We got to stop resisting it. Tell me about this Five of Pentacles. This is separate. It's a separate message. Tell me about the Five of Pentacles here. Why is this here? What do you want to say? It's by design. It is by design. All of this is a part of the plan. All of the suffering that has ever been generated by identification with mind, by the mind-made self, which is ego, by the shadow of ego, which is the collective pain body, the egregore of pain. All of it is a part of the plan. It's driving us to this point of realizing we're doing this to ourselves. It sucks. We don't want to feel this way anymore. We can't live with this. We can't take it. We are driven to the edge, to the brink, where we have to make a choice. Continue this suffering or fucking stop. 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 It's a void. It's emptiness. It's underneath that. Stop and then go. Stop and go a different direction. Stop following the mind and just go with it. Flow with it. What's on top? Queen of Wands. Yeah. It's a separate message, but it is technically read with the reverse Eight of Pentacles here specifically. This is the brink. It is the brink. It is the time that we realize this behavior, that we realize how ego has been driving us, keeping us closed, keeping us defensive, living in the false self, hiding behind a wall of pretense. We're not happy with that anymore. We're seeing it, and it's disgusting us. That's a strong word, but I feel it here with this Five of Cups in the soul. It is a self-disgust, but it's tied into this realization that I make the change. I can make this change. I have to be the one to choose now. I am not happy with this way I've been being, and I'm the only one who can change it, and that change has to happen now, not in the future. There's no more waiting. I am at the brink. This is the last straw. It's the final straw. No more. What's read with the Queen of Wands? The Hierophant. Spiritual lesson. Changing this long-term pattern, long-term way of being, this restricted, limited, defensive, closed-off self. We have to see it. We're seeing it. It doesn't feel good. We don't want to do it anymore. What we want to do and what makes sense, what feels right to do, is to follow the emotion, is to trust the intuition. We're done with the other stuff. We're done. And it's all happening at this time. This Lionsgate is so important because of the collection of energies that are gathered around it. Venus, I believe, still in retrograde. Certain things happening in the sign of Leo, which traditionally has to do with ego. Pluto, still retrograde in Capricorn, revealing the self-deception in a big way, in a way that we can't look away from. We can't avoid it. We can't ignore it. It is not able to be suppressed anymore. And the more we see it, the more unhappy we are with it, the more we're going, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to change, and the only one who can make this change is me, and the only time I can do it is now. So, tell me about this Two of Swords, because this got a lot more interesting. Two of Swords in the final outcome position. Because I think we're making the change. We're at the crossroads, and it's time to pick one. I think we're doing it. I think we are picking a new path. We'll see what the cards say. I can't account for free will. I can't talk about everybody, but I think collectively we're picking a new path. We're making a new choice, a new decision, one that's led by the soul, one that's led by the feeling that feels right. Does it make sense to the brain? No, that doesn't fucking matter. The brain lies. The brain is what got us into this mess. Leave the brain out of it. Brain don't know shit. It doesn't. Oh, and I'm dropping cards. Okay, I dropped 3 cards. What's at the bottom? 9 of Pentacles. Liberation. Picking liberation. Picking the path that leads to liberation. This is why we're at the crossroads. The desire for this. Not wanting to do this shit anymore. It's underneath. Yeah. Not wanting to fight anymore. Wanting to pick the higher road as well. Wanting to give up the resistance. Wanting to see a new way, to take a different path. All right, what fell out? Because these are, oh my gosh, it's a whole bunch. Okay. Hold on. 5 of Pentacles, 10 of Swords. Done with this, which is the hidden energy of the universe. Done with this. Done with keeping ourselves out. Done with living life on the sidelines. Done with being led by fear. Ah, speaking of fear. 3 of Wands with the moon underneath. It's time for something new, something that's not driven by fear. It's time to stop pushing down and pushing out and invite in the feeling. The feeling is what we've been missing. The soul, the guidance, the intuition, that's what we've been missing. Because of this obsession with the physical world, with the mind-made self, with ego, King of Pentacles. We've been holding ourselves back. And in holding back, everything has been held back from us. We have just been keeping ourselves out, apart from. It's time to let go. That's where the balance is found, truly. This feels like a separate... I am going to pull 2 more cards on the top just to see. Yeah. We're standing at the crossroads. We're looking at it. We want to make a different choice. I was going to say the right choice. That's in here too. That's a mental construct. The right choice is often the choice that the mind says, well, this one is appropriate. This one makes sense to the brain. The choice that is right for the soul is the one that feels right. And you can't fall off the path. Again, you can't make a wrong choice truly. But we're determined here to do the thing that feels right. To do the thing that feels right. And it's time for it. Now is the time. We're at the crossroads. The energy is aligned for this, for everybody to make a different choice. What's read with the 7 of Pentacles? I'm reading this as true happiness because it's read with Temperance here, which is a very balanced card. To follow the heart, to follow the feeling, even if it seems illogical, even if it seems like fantasy, to give the dream a chance, to not kill our dreams before they've even had a chance to take off, to try, to potentially exist, to not just shoot the dream dead. Don't kill your dreams. I had a dream about that. It was quite a while ago now, but it was a dream where everybody had given up their dreams. They were represented by animals. All the animals had been abandoned and left in boxes and put in shop windows, and some of them were dead. And I could still feel the way it felt to witness that. It's time to revive the dream, to renew the dream. It never really died. You cannot rid yourself of a true soul desire, of that feeling, of that emotion. You can't. It's there. and it just wants to be followed. That's it. It's time to choose happiness. It's time to choose faith, trust, joy, freedom, intuition. It's time to choose to stop following the unhappy narrative, to stop following the thought, to stop following the fear, to do something that feels right to us because it feels right and no other reason. To find the satisfaction in that, the satisfaction in believing in yourself, and then following that belief and discovering it's not just a belief, it's a knowing. There's a difference. The mind believes, the soul knows directly, experientially. When you feel something that feels right and you follow the feeling and you feel the satisfaction of it, you know, I'm onto something here. It doesn't matter what it looks like on the outside. It doesn't matter what the mind thinks. It matters that I feel this. All that matters is that I feel this. I am beginning to realize that if I'm not feeling this, if I'm not in connection with myself, if I'm not in communion with myself, if I'm not flowing and blowing and following my own energy, I got nothing. I got nothing. It doesn't matter what stuff I have, none of it satisfies me. And as long as I have this, as long as I am moving with myself, in alignment with myself, following the feeling, following the flow of energy, as long as I am inviting the flow and accepting what is consciously, deliberately, with awareness, with presence, as long as I'm doing that, I am good. I'm good. I'm satisfied. I'm stable. I'm peaceful. I'm happy. I'm secure. And I don't need anything. I don't need anything. I don't need anything to change. I don't need anything to be other than what it is. By its being, as it is, I am able to accept it, to invite it as it is, and in so doing, I feel good. That's it. That's where the liberation is. You are free from the mind. You are free from the three-dimensional matrix. You're free. You have all of the power, all of the time to experience pleasure, peace, joy, any moment, every single moment. It need not even stop. It can be uninterrupted. Final message from the universe. What else do you want to say? Oh, just saw the Wheel of Fortune again. Okay. Yep, it's a changing. What? I saw the Wheel of Fortune. There's the Wheel of Fortune. It's a changing. It's a changing. It's opening. The valve is wide opening. Wide opening. The valve is wide open. Be open. Be the open, receptive conduit. Just embrace and invite what is. It is all changing. And that is changing in you. That is changing in collective, but specifically you, my viewer. Because I would not be here giving this message to the very small and select audience that is receiving it if it did not pertain to you in a very specific way. You are open to receive. Be open to the moment as it is happening, every moment. Discover the joy of being, of feeling deeply into the now. This is here for you. This is changing for you. What's on top? That's Seven of Wands again. Feels like an unveiling. What's it read with? Yeah, the Sword of Truth. The truth will not be hidden. 3 things will not be long hidden, right? One of them's the truth. It's not able to be suppressed anymore. That's a part of Pluto retrograde in Capricorn too, which is going to be in a couple of months coming back into Aquarius full time. At least longer. I think it has maybe one more little dip, but yeah, the truth is just shining. It's so bright, it's so obvious, it will not be able to be suppressed. Deception is not allowed, particularly self-deception in this energy. No more distraction, no more holding back. And letting that truth flow, letting the feeling flow, flowing with it, feels so good. It feels so good. It works wonders for your energy. And mostly it feels amazing. I can't stress that enough. This is the new path forward. Radical honesty, radical acceptance of the self. When you are accepting what is, you are accepting the self. Because you are the present. You are the present moment. And everything that is contained within it is contained within you. When you are accepting what is in the present moment, you are accepting yourself fully. Inviting it to be. All of you as it is. God, there's a lot here. It expands perspective in a tremendous and satisfying way. You begin to see things in a new way. You begin to appreciate all things in a new way. This is your way forward. This is your path. Truth. Open, honest acceptance. What's read with the Seven of Wands? That Page of Swords again. Okay. Yeah, I mean, continuous awareness. I am reading this as awareness. Viewing of the self, but viewing of the self from the illuminated perspective. There's another level. Which is that everyone is experiencing this. It is also an illumination of disappointment, as we have felt in the soul, and a realization that we have the power to change that. We have the power to heal that disappointment. If we're disappointed that we didn't express something, we can express that. If we're disappointed that we didn't represent ourselves in a way that was true and authentic, we can change that. We can start doing that, and we start doing it now. We make the choice, we make the change now. And that disappointment, there's a lot of fresh awareness here. It's just illumination energy of, oh my God, I have been living against myself. And I don't want to do that anymore. And I can change it. I have the power to change it right now. Let me fucking do that. Let me make that choice. This point forward, I am changed. I am different. There was life before this, and there is life from here on. And that life is different. That life is open, expressive, honest, vulnerable, true to myself, accepting of all of myself, accepting of the fullness of the moment, the isness of all being, devotion to awareness, to the increasing of presence, to the expansion of consciousness, with the awareness that the expansion of consciousness in myself is the expansion of consciousness of all self. But mostly it's because this feels good and the other doesn't. And I'm done with that. I'm done with suffering. I'm done with perpetuating those cycles, those patterns. I'm aware of them. I become more and more aware of them. The more I am aware of them, the less I am feeding into them. And I am determined to stay this course, because nothing less will satisfy me. That is the message. What a delicious one it is. What an honor, and how satisfying to deliver this. Resonates powerfully for me in this moment. I do intend that it resonates for you, my beautiful collective, my beautiful, precious viewer. Thank you for being. Thank you for being as you are. And truly thank you for being here. This is a co-creation. It would not be as it is without your desiring of it, without your energy, your presence here. And so I desire to express a deep appreciation for that. Truly, I am grateful. I intend that this resonates. I would love to know. If so, how? Leave me a comment, like, subscribe if you feel so inclined. Just soak this up. Everything is opening up for you. The more that you open up for it. Open yourself to the present moment and all that is within it. And the present moment will embrace you. It will take you in. It will sweep you up. You will feel it. You will know it by the feeling of it. Make friends with now. And the now will treat you as the very dear friend which you are. It is your home. It is where you belong. When you embrace this, you will feel that belonging. You will feel it welcome you. And you will not want for anything other than this. Truly. That is the message. Have a beautiful, blessed evening, my lovely collective, and know that always, in every vector of time and space and all the other dimensions, I absolutely adore you.